Good evening, Palm Bay. Good evening. This is our final interview for this political primary cycle for the primaries, I should say. Hopefully, you will see me in the fall with more interviews. But this is our final one for the primaries. So do me a favor. Let's make this one count. I need you to smack the like button. Let's hit the subscribe button for the YouTube channel. Let's help the algorithms to go in our favor tonight. Show me some support, show me some love. Let me know that you're appreciative of the work that I've been doing for the last several weeks. Send me some likes, send me some love, and share this across the different media spectrums with your friends, your families, near and far. Let them know that we have our last guest tonight who is joining me. He goes by the name of Patric McNally. Am I pronouncing that right, sir?
McNally.
McNally. Yes, sir. Thank you for that. So I'm pretty sure you have your supporters out there. So tell them, smack that like button, right? Hit that subscribe button and be ready for a conversation. He
Yep.
is running for C2.
Yep.
Palm Bay City Council C2. He's our last candidate that we are interviewing. So we're going to have a healthy discussion on the issues that matter surrounding the city of Palm Bay. So if you are appreciative of the work that I've been doing, that's what you're going to do for me. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's spread this far and near, and let's tell others what we're doing here tonight.
Mhm.
Sir, thank you for joining us. You have a very extensive biography. You've been a Palm Bay resident now, I believe, based on my research, for over 17 years. Am I
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
You are a football coach at Bayside High School. You serve on the Republican Executive Committee. You're a the Space Coast Young Republicans. You have an education background at UCF, and an MBA as well,
Mhm.
and you serve as a coach at Bayside High School.
Yep.
So, um, welcome to the platform. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
sir.
being with us, and thank you for allowing me to interview you and introduce you to the public and let them know who you are and why you're running for this seat. So I'm going to ask you to open up by introducing yourself to the public. Give you about 2 minutes or so. Tell them why you're running for the seat. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I appreciate you having me. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in, friends, families, and supporters. My name is Patric McNally. Like Kevin mentioned, I've been a Palm Bay resident my entire life. I'm 27 years old. Lived in Brevard County my entire life. Came to Palm Bay around first grade. Went to West Side and Southwest and Bayside High, and I've worked in the area. Have friends and family in the area. Graduated from UCF with a marketing degree. Went to FGCU for my MBA, and currently work in the aerospace and defense market as an outside salesman covering the state of Florida. Around the city. Um, been involved in various things, but the biggest thing is in sports. Currently a football coach, coaching quarterbacks at Bayside High School. Been involved at other local high schools around the area as well. Just really passionate about sports in general. I think it's a good platform for kids and people to kind of establish their life young, establish a good set of discipline very young. Other than that, running for Palm Bay because I'm very motivated and very passionate about establishing trust, establishing people coming back to the city and saying, I'm proud to be a Palm Bay resident, proud to be here, proud of the leadership, proud of all the things that we have to offer, right? And I think during my time, it's kind of been lost on us. Obviously, I think it's no secret what Palm Bay has gone through and the ups and downs it's gone through, and specifically with leadership. But motivation is I want to be able to come back, give back to the city, give the voice back to the people, show the residents that, hey, you know what? You are the leaders of Palm Bay, not me. I'm just here to execute your vision. And I think that's the biggest goal of leadership in any government form. So, very motivated to just make change, be energetic, be a young leader that I think is something our country needs in general. So happy to show that perspective and bring that younger voice that maybe has been lost considering how rapid growth Palm Bay has and a lot of our younger population. So that's kind of the background of myself, some motivations for running, and excited to be here and excited to talk to the audience.
And thanks for that, making that introduction. So Mr. Davis, we just jump right into it. Mr. Davis is asking, how long have you been a member of the Brevard Republican Executive Committee, and are you in District 3 or 5?
Yep. So I'm District 5. I came back to Palm Bay in 2021 after I graduated from UCF. Lived in Orlando for a few years, obviously finishing my degree. And when I was here for those first few years, I was getting involved in football and different things, and was looking online for the opportunities to get involved politically and leadership wise. And I found the BREC and been part of the BREC for 6-7 months now.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's get into our line of questioning.
Okay.
So, you're relatively young, as you
Yeah,
stated,
sure.
your age, you're 27 years old.
Yeah.
So how do you plan to balance your ideas with the experience and insights of more seasoned council members?
Well, I think experience and everything is relative, right? And, to be fair, the comment about more seasoned council members, obviously, we've had some ups and downs in our council members anyway. So, how am I going to balance my views and that? I think it's just being open, being honest, coming to my perspective, and really advocating for the things and the ideas and the things that I believe that the city needs, and what the residents want, right? And as far as that, I think it's just open conversation, right? I may be young, but I'm no stranger to negotiation. I'm no stranger to talking in front of groups of people. I'm no stranger of advocating for the things that I need, right? I'm a salesman in an aerospace and defense market, right? I don't know how many people out there. I've talked to a buyer. I've talked to an engineer. I've talked to a government contractor, right? No stranger in that thing. And I think it's the same thing. At the end of the day, we're all people. We all have goals. We all have our own vision, and all have our things that we want to put into place. And as long as I'm open and honest, and I step back and look at their perspective, and hopefully they can step back and look at my perspective, I think it'll be fine. But as far as more seasoned council members, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay, great. So we're gonna have a winning season this year, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have a great season. First game this Friday night. So
Okay, great. So the first, is it gonna be here at Bayside High School?
yep, it's gonna be 7 o'clock on Friday at Bayside High School against St. Edwards.
Okay, great. All right, so let's keep going on the questions at hand. You've been a resident now, as you stated, over 15 years. How are you going to shape your experience, your involvement with the community, and the local organizations that you have participated with, the issues that the city is facing? How are you going to shape, how are you going to mold that into action?
Into action.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think being a Palm Bay resident for my entire life, and since first grade, whatever age that was at, but it's given me a unique perspective to kind of see where the city has grown, right? Back in the day, Palm Bay was once viewed as retirement area, right? People will come here. It's, slow down their lives. It's favorable pricing, quiet little town, but it's really not. So I've seen the growth. I've seen the things, and my generation are starting to be the homeowners, are the people that live here, the people that are battling everyday problems in the city. And I think it gives me a perspective to know, what? I know where the city was years and years ago when my father first moved us down here, and we're going down, and Malabar Road isn't even completed yet, or Walmart on Malabar isn't even fully built out, right? So it gives me perspective to know that where we've come, and also it gives me motivation to know that where we can be, right? Having that perspective, I've seen the lapses in infrastructure. I've seen the lapses in emergency services, and the need for entertainment, and just the overall trust in leadership, right? I think everybody has their motivations. Everyone has their thoughts and perspective to come to the city. And I've been around a lot of people, a lot of different ideas, a lot of different thoughts and feedback. And it's just given me that perspective. And I think that's what has kind of helped me bridge the gap of my experience in Palm Bay, and then what my vision and hope is for the future.
Thanks for your answer, sir. So Susan Farrell asked, what would you like to see happen to the Majors Golf Course, sir?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've lived in Bayside Lakes. That's where we were. My dad brought us to when we were we moved to Palm Bay, right across the street from Bayside High, actually. So very unique perspective in that area, right? I've gone to the Majors golf course for fundraiser events when I was young, and driven past there, and frequently I literally drive past there every single day going to Bayside High now for football practice after work. And I think it's a tragedy what has happened. And it was once a beautiful golf course, and a very you know, quiet town, a little area of Palm Bay that has really supported the area. And obviously that community that backs right up to it, a lot of those homeowners moved here with that expectation for the golf course. So I am not in favor for building any sort of houses or townhomes or condominiums, anything, right? I really want to push to use that as whether it goes back to a golf course and something the city can work out with the owner, or whether it's a recreational area, but something that does not just pack us in like sardines, right? It's there's unique areas in the city that we need to protect, right? If you want to pack in more developments and have that talk and have that idea, you know what? There's plenty of areas we can speak about, but right there, it just doesn't make sense. And considering the infrastructure and the talents around, right? There's one major store there that now has to support all those new homes. One pharmacy that's right there that now has to support all those new homes, and gas stations, and it's already a packed enough area during school season, and it just doesn't make sense. And I'm not in support of it. So I would like it to be strike a deal with the owner to make it to go back to a golf course or some sort of recreational area, that essentially just stops development from going in there. Not for that whatsoever.
Yeah, that would be awesome. All right. Let's see. Let's continue the questions. During a recent council meeting, there was a discussion about the critical need for additional fire stations in the area.
Sure.
The expansion of police and fire services. What specific plans do you have to address the growing demand for public safety services in Palm Bay? Now, let's add to that question, because we understand there was uh, um, a motivation to possibly add a 2 mil tax.
Sure.
And then the mayor came back and said, nope, we're not going to do that. He changed his mind.
Yeah.
So, what do you think we need to do to make sure we have that funding in order to ensure that we have those police departments, those fire departments, we need trucks. We
Yep.
need ladder trucks as well, because
Yep.
of the different situations that we're facing. So, your thought process on that, sir?
Yeah. I mean, like we talked about a little bit earlier, been here for quite some time, and we've grown a lot. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, whether it was leadership or economy or whatever it was back in the day, we just didn't plan right. And we're really we've done our city today a disservice as leaders through the city council, right, of promoting that increased need for emergency services and police officers, fire stations, equipment, right? So my thoughts is one, there needs to be a steady, consistent annual investment in emergency services, whether that's the equipment, the fire stations, bringing on more officers, right? Being in that more southern part of Palm Bay, right? I think the response time when I was at one of the most recent meetings when they were given State of the Union for fire down in this area is like 17 to 20 minutes, and it's very tough to hear that, right? As a Palm Bay resident and as a person that would like to start, have a family here one day. So, my idea is the continuous budget investments, continuous, driving through there and making sure that that is a priority within the budget and supersedes other requests that are trying to be jammed in there. And also the same thing is reaching out to the state, reaching out to whether it's the state assistance or grants or subsidies or whatever. Obviously the millage they were trying to bring it on and it wasn't in favor for, because you try to play the balancing act. I'm a proponent. I do not want to raise taxes, do not want to bring property taxes, not want to do anything like that. The people of Palm Bay have to pay enough, right? And obviously we want to do everything we can to lower. So seeking that state assistance, the federal assistance, just to continue that. And I think they're doing a lot of that stuff right now, but it's just that continuous push to get annual funding so that we have a proper cadence, so that eventually we can catch up and eventually we can put ourselves in a position that makes us successful, right? And it's going to take time. And unfortunately, it's just the failures of the past creeping up on us. But that's my perspective on that.
Yeah, we grow it expeditiously because of the new roads that we acquired, thanks to the road bond, and we're here because of that road bond. And the contractors, they saw, hey, we got roads, hey, let's come and build. So, but now we have this road bond, and now we are understanding that there is a potential. Well, we did a research. Palm Bay Live did a research and found out that there is a shortfall. And so, how do you propose that we bridge that gap so we can actually pave the rest of Palm Bay? So everybody is in the same situation, so we don't see the constant cadence, of course, of people complaining on social media that their roads are not paved. So, what would you do?
Yeah, no, I mean, when the road bond came through, I think when they were talking about it, they had said that it needed to get done in within that 5 year period. Otherwise, it's we're going to run out of resources. We're going to run out of funding, and obviously we're here today where we're behind and budget wise and time wise, right? So I think the biggest thing is whether it's we're reallocating funds within the budget to that, so that we're not putting more burden on the citizens by adding more line items or adding more different budget allocations, right? In the year-over-year budget. But outside of that, it's just another assistance from the state, assistance from the federal government, assistance whatever we can do to whatever we need to push to continuously get funding. Also, maybe look at different ways for us to work within the budget we currently have for the road bond, and whether we have more sustainable practices or more sustainable material or more sustainable just overall operations and process that we can be more efficient with the funds that we do currently have, right? I think part of that study and kind of the things you're alluding to is that we are pacing towards being over budget, right? And it's travesty. And I think, there has to be a focus on getting assistance elsewhere so that we are not putting more burden on the citizen.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's take another uh, question from the audience. Thanks, Dale, for keeping the questions rolling. Palm Bay citizens pay 2-3 times the tax millage than the county or other cities rather. With a millage about 7 mils, bond millage of a 1.5, how can Palm Bay bring businesses to the city with taxes so high and roads infrastructure so far behind? How do you plan to bring a business tax base to Palm Bay? Good questions, Dale.
Yeah, no, very good question, Dale. And it's tough, right? Palm Bay having one of the highest millage rates, and compared to other cities around here, why would business want to come here? And I think it just takes a proactive effort, right? Over these past few weeks, I made it a point to meet with all the various departments at the city hall to kind of get their perspective on what they're doing and this and that. And this is one of the things we spoke about. And they had mentioned that it's hard to bring those businesses, but you know what? We need to be able to bring proactive approaches so that instructing our city manager, instructing our building department, our growth management, to be able to say, hey, let's establish a plan to target manufacturing companies, whether it's giving them incentives or giving them some sort of outlook or preferable land or whatever it may be, right? Just to bring them and attract them here, right? Being in the manufacturing industry with aerospace and defense and space and industrial and so on and so forth, right? I think those are the businesses and companies that need to come here, right? And it takes time, but there are plenty of mom and pop shops out there that are machine shops or assembly shops or anything like that were previously here in Palm Bay, but have jumped ship to neighboring cities like Melbourne, right? And being able to make it worthwhile for them to come here, for them to not be strapped taxes, at the highest percent, but also, making sure that they are committed to the city, committed to what we're trying to do, right? So targeting like that and instructing our departments and our city manager that needs to be a focus. That's the biggest thing, right? Is attracting those companies to know that they can come here, they can develop here, and we have a vision and plan for them to, grow.
All right, great. You have a great compliment here from one of your supporters that says Coach McNally was a welcoming commodity for my son when we moved here from West Virginia in 2022. He was the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach at Melbourne Central Catholic High School. As a 10th grader, he really was a huge part in making his transition so easy. I was involved in politics in West Virginia for 20 and a half years. His youthfulness, intelligence, and welcome ability will be a huge benefit to the city of Palm Bay. He exemplifies a true meaning of a people person, and that will be another huge asset to Palm Bay. So that's a compliment from one of
Appreciate
your
that, Chad.
supporters. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's talk about physical responsibility.
Okay.
Um, Given the concerns raised by a community about the city's budget and the need for comprehensive public safety plan, how do you propose to fund these initiatives without overburdening taxpayers? And I think you alluded to those answers earlier in one of your
Yeah. There's, I think, looking at the budget, right, it's always a big focus. It's always a big thing, right? Obviously, Palm Bay, we are no different than any other city that's trying to be efficient with our budgeting and our planning, right? And you never want to raise any tax burden on the citizens, right? And that's the last thing I want to do. So I never want to push for that. So I think the biggest thing is looking within. Looking within is do we have departments that can be condensed? Do we have positions or roles that are redundant that maybe we can morph into one, right? So just, to take that burden off of us a little bit for our budget to be able to fund those roles and to push those things, right? Also, maybe we look at taking a less aggressive approach on funding certain organizations or certain initiatives out in the city with different things until we can kind of right the ship and get our stuff going. And so we can focus on budgeting for emergency services, focus on budgeting for infrastructure, right? And until we kind of get a regular cadence to keep pushing up there. And also, right, as we go through budget discussions year over year, talking to the department heads and talking to them and saying, hey, what within your budget do you truly need and what within your budget do you not, right? There's a difference between needs and wants, and there's a difference between something that's going to make or break us today or something that, we can plan and push for later on, and having to have those hard discussions. And I think it starts with our city manager making sure that, we're advocating for what we need and what we is essential to the city as opposed to the stuff that maybe is what we want, right? And making that earnest look to cut those things down, right? And that's a few different ways that overall in the budget we can consolidate funds down and then allocate funds and have more focus within the budget on our emergency services, on our infrastructure. And it's an overall effort, and everyone needs to do their part.
Okay, so let's talk about the stabilization fund. I'm not sure if you're aware of the stabilization fund for the city is set at 4%. Given the ongoing and proposed workforce expansions and pay increases, how do you plan to maintain or adjust the stabilization fund to ensure the city's financial health remains robust?
I think it kind of goes back to what we kind of just talked about, right? Obviously we want to reward our hard workers and reward the people within our city, both financially and to have that security. But at the end of the day, we got to make smart decisions to make sure that, hey, we have the essential positions, we have the essential people working, we have the essential functions going, and we are not just hiring out of a boom or allocating funds for that way. So that, obviously we're not, burdening our stabilization fund or making sure that we have that security blanket right within the city. And there's a big focus on just smart budgeting, being fiscally responsible, making sure that we are staying as thin as possible, but overall still growing the city and where we need to be, whether it's infrastructure or emergency services.
Do you think the city needs to be audited, sir? Do you think we need to bring?
Yeah, no, I mean, it goes back to the trust. First and foremost, you can look at it from the trust factor, right? An audit takes a look under the hood, make sure that everyone knows where we need to be and where we're at. I've been a part of organizations that there's yearly audits, and making sure that our audits are fully and are extensive across, right? Not cherry picking certain departments, not cherry picking certain areas of the budget, or cherry picking certain years, right? It needs to be a full extensive audit, right? Not only establish public trust, but it also helps identify city leaders that, where we need to get better, where was our shortfalls, where are the things that we need to improve on as leaders. And, I think it's something that should be an annual practice. So just to make sure that we're all aligned.
Okay, great. Mr. Davis has another question for you, actually. Let's post this up here. Mr. McNally, since you have opened the subject, how do you feel about the city manager and how has she handled the job? So I was actually going to propose that question. So my question is, if you were to grade the city manager today, how would you grade her?
I would grade her. I would grade her pretty average, right? As far whether it's a C or so. But I've met Suzanne, and she was a part of helping me, schedule meetings with department heads to just to learn and get knowledge from their perspective, right? And but at the end of the day, I think she's had her time. I think she's had her ability to make her mark on the city, and unfortunately, we still have some shortcomings and some shortfalls. So I think I say she's done an average job because she's made sure the city's still moving and we're going and we're doing what we need to do. But there's a heck of a lot more we need to be done, a lot more proactivist, a lot more push. So I would say that we need to start fresh, bring in a new city manager, bring in a new fresh perspective, one that aligns with the council, because it's no secret that this election is big. There's going to be a lot of different faces on the council, I believe, and different perspective, fresh start, fresh new, and and obviously it's at the council's discretion to appoint a city manager and go about that process.
Okay. All right. Great. So let's keep it going. Uh, Thanks for posing those questions for me, Dale. And anybody else who have questions for Mr. McNally, please post them. Let's make this last interview count. This is the last one for this primary, so let's make it count. All right. Impact fees. Your thought process on impact fees, sir. Have been a pretty these impact fees has been a major topic of contention
Yeah.
for during this interviews that I've been doing. So some residents are feeling that developers are not paying enough um, and to support the city's growth. How do you plan to address this issue of impact fees and ensure that developers contribute to their fair share?
No, I totally agree with anybody and everybody that says that impact fees are lacking, right? We need to do everything we can to aggressively increase those, right? I think at the end of the day, we need to take a hard line with developers and say, you know what, you're going to come to Palm Bay. We have tons of land, we have tons of area, we have tons of ideas and expansion that we want to come. A lot of people want to come here because our county in general is booming. We got that we're the Space Coast. We have tons of manufacturing. We have lots of tourism, right? People are going to come here regardless. So it's time for them to do their fair share. It's time for them to sign up and to support us, right? And I don't know what it is, if it's a hesitancy or some sort of alliances or anything like that, with previous councils and whatnot, why there hasn't been a push to aggressively increase impact fees. But that's something that we need to do. It's not an if and but about it. It's something that if that's going to support our overall functions to make sure that, hey, we're taking care of what we need to infrastructure wise, we're taking care of what we need to public safety and so on and so forth, right? If that's going to help us and overall improve the city, it needs to be done.
Okay, great. Yeah, my famous question, downtown. um, I've asked this pretty much with every interview that I've had when I get the opportunity because that's one of my pet peeves. Not having a downtown Palm Bay. I am very envious of what's happening in the city of Melbourne, and
Mhm.
so I need to know, what are your plans? What are we going to do to ensure that we get something going? I know the density of the way the city is structured right now is pretty much, it's probably going to be a hard task to get one. But how do you think, or can we do for entertainment in the city of Palm Bay and a downtown Palm Bay?
No, I mean it's one of the biggest things I've talked about and pushed. Right, it's no secret I'm a young guy. I take a lot of stock in entertainment, not only family fun entertainment, right, but stuff that I can go out with my friends and just overall just relax and enjoy the city and enjoy whatever it be, whether it's eateries or downtown areas, kind of like with bars and restaurants, kind of like Melbourne has, right. It needs to be a push, needs to be a focus, right. If we are so huge on the supporting our citizens, making them happier, making them admire the city and stay here and grow, right, we need to push for it, right. Obviously we have we're 45 to 50% built out, right, so we have plenty of area, whether it goes in the southern area of Palm Bay or goes off of US 1 in our Palm Bay region, right. It's needs to be done, right. And I think it just takes a proactive look to instruct city manager and departments to saying, hey, let's start looking at this, start looking at putting the plan together and ideas, or from the direction of the council to say, what can we bring, what can we support, what can we push for? And everything is hard, I get it, everything takes time, but if you just keep your thumb down and you keep pushing, it gets done eventually, right. And very very big advocate for downtown areas and big advocate for entertainment within the city.
Patrick, I don't know if you answered this already. I'm trying to think back to your line of answers,
Sure.
but can you address something for me? What kind of commercial buildings, commercial projects would you bring to the city of Palm Bay, or what would your thought process on that is? How would you align it to our population, or what we have going on as far as schools? Kids are coming out of schools, they sometime leave and opt to go elsewhere. We need to retain them here, and what can we do to bring more commercial base, and what type of commercial base would you try to attract?
You're referring to commercial businesses and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier, right? I'm in the aerospace and defense market. I'm in the space industry. I am in the industrial industry, right? That's where I play already, and I've seen the impacts it has made.
Mhm.
That would be the industry that I would push for. Manufacturing jobs, whether it's the mom and pop machine shops, the mom and pop assembly shops, the giant government contractors, whatever it may be, those need to be the things that we're attracting. We need to make a push to go out there and say, hey, we're open, we're ready to bring you here. So that, because the big push for that is that companies and jobs like that not only obviously offset the tax burden for the homeowner, but what it does is those are jobs and careers that set you up for life. Those are things that help you with retirement. Those are things that help you with health and benefits and financials, right? I understand what a Dollar General does. I understand what a car wash and a coffee shop does. I get it. But those jobs aren't moving the needle for our careers and for people, right? I enjoy the industry I'm in. I think it's you get to meet so many smart people. You get to do so many great and inventive things. And we already have a base here in Brevard County as it is. So, with the likes of L3 being down the road from us, and Northrop Grumman being down the road from us, and Lockheed being in Orlando, and Raytheon Outpost being all over the area, right? There's so much stock in companies being close to those areas when it comes to business. So, not only advocating for that, we have the room for you commercially. We have the room for you to be here. And, and now we're only a spitting distance away from some of these heavy hitters within this industry and this manufacturing area. So that would be the push, because at the end of the day, that's going to do the most bang for the buck for people, right? Specifically, you look at Bayside, they have a machine shop program there where people are getting certifications throughout there. And that kids are ready to come out high school right then and there and start getting these high paying, these good career jobs. And that would be the push. That's the motivation. Very passionate about that. I think for too long, it's just, there needs to be some sort of energy. There needs to be some sort of proactiveness. I get it. You don't have to, anybody doesn't have to tell me until I'm blue in the face that things are hard. I get it. Life has been hard enough as a young person living in America nowadays. It's very hard, right? I get it. But as long as you're motivated and you have a proactive push, and look, anything can get done, right? I'm a half glass full guy, and I'm always going to get things done. I'm always going to push for things, and that would be the industry I would start at.
Good answer. Thank you, sir. All right, let's talk about annexation. In one of the recent meetings, the city of Palm Bay, there was a slight discussion about possibly giving back, especially down by the Babcock area, giving back some of those areas back to those developers and say, hey, listen, we don't want you a part of the city anymore because of the strain that you're possibly going to put on our city. With the response times we talked about, 18 minutes not being acceptable to respond to those areas. So do you think that's something that we should push for, giving back those areas back to those developers, say, hey, listen, we don't want you to be a part of Palm Bay anymore?
I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused. What do you mean giving back those areas to developers, or basically saying that, hey, those areas that you were originally trying to develop on, no more because we just can't support it at this time? Is that what you're getting at?
I'm getting at, there was a discussion. We annexed by those areas by Michael. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Okay.
And so we pretty much, there was a discussion that, hey, listen, those areas, they're so far out and we can't respond over there. We have no fire department over there. There's nothing happening over there for us right now.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and just say, hey, listen, we no longer want you a part of the city of Palm Bay.
We can't develop those areas.
We can't develop those areas right now.
Yeah, no, it's first and foremost, right? We can't place more burden on areas of cities that we already can't cover as it is, right? I think in the southern Palm Bay area, there's only 11 police officers that are patrolling in the area over there, and that's if they're all working at the same time, whether they're on the A shift or B shift or whatnot. So we need to do our part as city leaders to not put our emergency services in a bad spot. So if we can't support that area, and if we can't do it right now, yes, we need to pump the brakes. And until we have a plan or a fire station or we've filled the 38 open vacancies that our Palm Bay Police Department currently has, until we have that in hand, no, we need to prioritize who's already here, not the expectation of what's to come. I'm not against growth. I'm not against like that, but there needs to be some pride in what the city already has and help them, as opposed to just, giving them the Heisman and saying, you know what, we're just going to keep growing, 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 and then we'll figure it out later. Because if it's not solved with this council, it'll be the next council's problem, and the next, and the next, and the next, until at that point, until we're in Orlando or Miami and we're too far gone.
Okay, great answer, sir. Let's bring up another question from Mr. Davis. He asks, CRAs have TIF dollars to use for blight. What would you design for applicable CDBG money?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the acronyms.
Um, Mr. Davis, remind me. I think I know what it stands for, but
I'm not a big acronym person.
you're not a big acronym. Yeah, community development something, block grant, I believe it is the application for that. But if you're not aware of the question, if you're not aware of those organizations, you can pass.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'll take a note with that, and I'll follow up with you on that one, Kevin.
okay, great. All right, all right. Let's see. So let's keep going. Let's talk about housing, sir. Housing in the city of Palm Bay.
Yeah.
The prices of housing here is dramatic, and I've been asking the candidates how
Mhm.
we're going to address this because of the fact that my concern, and this is my pet peeve, that our fire department or personnel, you know what their salary ranges are. Our
Sure.
police department, you know what their salary ranges are. The teachers, you know what their salary ranges are. Um, and so my thought process on that is how we going to accommodate them because of the fact that these housing units are so expensive. So
Mhm.
what would you do to ensure that the we can cater to those individuals? How would you approach those contractors and say, listen, we need you to set aside a couple of units at this set price for our fire personnel, for the police department, for our
Mhm.
teachers who are not can't afford a $300,000 home with that salary that they're taking home. So
Yeah.
what would you do?
No, I sympathize with you know, those people and so many more. Right, I'm in that class. Right, it's very tough to buy a home, especially in Palm Bay. And at one point, people wanted to come here because it was very easy, because you know we had affordable pricing and we had a lot of options. But you know, yeah, it's having those conversations with those builders and contractors. And obviously, you know, it's tough for us to set prices. We can't necessarily do that, but it's having those negotiations and saying, hey, you know, we need to make these, you know, this subsection affordable, or what is the rate you're going to push, or like that. And the other thing is, you know, we can help offset tax burden for people, right? You know, it's bringing that economic business and those big businesses here, so that you know our city budget is funded through those, as opposed to coming out of the pockets of homeowners, right? And just people in the city in general, right? I think the figure is 80-90% of our overall budget is supported by residents and just through property taxes, right? So having that offset there.
Okay. All right. Um, so let's keep going. So we talk about entertainment, and I think that's a part of your platform, having an entertainment district. And I mean, um, I'm going back to the question because for
Yeah.
those who may not have heard you answer earlier, what specific initiatives would you create to bring a social hub within the city? We
Yeah.
talk about the downtown.
Yeah.
And what would what do you do to ensure that we support local events? I think one of
Yeah.
the things on the dais right now is, people are iffy about supporting events when they're happening from a city point of view of saying, hey, the city is backing this, and they don't want to come out of the coffers of the city to back a particular event because they don't believe they should do that. So what would you do to ensure entertainment? Because people say Palm Bay is boring, and I think you've probably heard that
Yeah.
before, McNeely. So
I
what
I
would you do? Talk to me.
I have a joke I always talk with my buddies and around here, is that one of the most entertaining things about Palm Bay currently is that you can go to every fast food restaurant in the known to man, because we have them all. And I think there needs to be a big focus on those events and venues that are here today and then gone tomorrow. Meaning, like, whether it's concerts or shows or are just attracting those things, outdoor events that we can use our surplus of land and really push those, right? I think, obviously we have 140,000 plus residents in the city, and bless the city's heart and bless the leadership's heart, right? I think there's a certain type of entertainment I think people want, whether it's like I said, those concerts or those exercise events like the Spartan races or the Tough Mudders and things that people can be excited about, like, wow, my city's doing. And a lot of that comes through is just working with the city manager and the city departments and for that increased tourism, right? And speaking to producers and promoters and areas that saying, hey, you know what, we have a very large population and we have a lot of area that you can set up shop and whether you're here for a week or within that, I think a big one is the Country Thunder events and the country shows, right, where they're here for a week and it just brings so much people and from it'll be from the area, it'll be from out of town, right, and it'll help with bringing in money and business to the area, right, and also just showcases Palm Bay in general. Those are things our big push, right? Obviously, we want to have a downtown. Obviously, we want to have eatery areas and bars and whatnot, and just so that we can have those relaxation areas and just overall enjoy life. At the end of the day, life isn't just about working and clocking in and clocking out. We want to be able to have fun, and I think the last thing a lot of people want to do is to go to a northern Brevard, whether it's in Melbourne or West Melbourne, or go to Orlando or go down south, right? We are no longer a retirement community. We are not. We haven't been that for quite some time. So those would be some of the ideas and some of the pushes, right? And it's I don't think that I don't think that people are shy and don't want to come here, right? We have a lot of offering. I just think it's been a lack of a focus, right? Obviously, we have other challenges within the city already, obviously with the things we've already discussed, but it just takes a proactive push, right? Part of being a leader, you need to be multitask. You need to be able to work on multiple things at a time, and at the end of the day, if that's going to help quality of life for people, it'll be another focus. That's, like you had mentioned, one of the things that I'm very passionate about and talking with residents and pushing on, right?
Okay, thanks for your response there. There's a question here that says, "How do you feel about creating more services for youth, homeless, and understand through not just one large, big, and fancy facility, but having many, maybe smaller satellite centers in the areas needed? Being clever about building, use, etc."
Yeah. So I mean, first and foremost, I understand what Mr. Yance is alluding to, and as far as the youth aspect goes, right? I think it's having those community centers and having those events and having those things. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, there was a big push on kids night out. There was areas that rec centers that Palm Bay has or works with, that they rented out areas or for just gatherings or basketball events or sporting events, right? Or other that is, or pushing for more advocacy for local sports and local things to come into the city, whether it's obviously we have football, soccer, baseball, all those things, but whether it's a city backed or city sponsored or whatever, kind of like some of the around surrounding cities have done in the past. Obviously the homelessness thing is very huge, and I think the biggest thing is just working with nonprofits and working with organizations that support that to give them options, give them housing, and give them there, and just supporting and pushing and backing those alike to help push that focus, right? And I forget the final thing that was on his question, but it just, those are different areas that we can work and assist and underserved so those are some areas and things that we can go, and so that kind of like what Mr. Yance said, we don't just have to push for a big fancy facility to accommodate those things. We have a lot of areas, whether it's rec centers or sponsored events or nonprofit services. So, and obviously working with surrounding cities as well that have their own problems and have their own techniques, right? There's certain things that we can work with our bordering towns. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, rec centers, YMCA's, things like that. So and obviously those are very push for the youth and those expertise. So it's just being proactive and attracting those and giving those options as a city.
Right. I think we have no YMCA's in the city of Palm Bay, which is quite interesting. That
Yeah.
we don't. That's very odd to me, because I've seen smaller communities. I when I grew up, I was in Citrus County. I don't know where that is. in Inverness area. Went to high school there, and a very small size population when I went there, and they had YMCA's
Yeah.
all
I
over the
feel,
place.
I'll be
And
honest with you, it's probably because we have a very changing dynamic in Palm Bay. Like I said, we used to be that retirement older population town, right? That maybe we didn't need those services. That wasn't the focus. That wasn't the overall majority. But now we are. We are an area that families have come here and flocked here because of the manufacturing and the aerospace and defense and space industry, right? So now we do have a need and pushing for YMCA's and stuff like that, right? It's I benefited when I was a kid to play youth sports and to play high school sports and all that, right? So I had that that outlet, but we're a different city. We have a different identity, and I agree with you, Mr. Yance, right? YMCA's or rec centers, right? Obviously, we have some facilities and some things already as far as rec centers and areas right now that do certain events. And I think, partially is, making sure that the city's doing a good job of getting out and promoting those. But other services that can be brought to the city to entertain our youth is huge. And obviously, that's why I coach football, right? I want to make an impact on those kids' lives because one day they're going to be the leaders. They're going to be the one doing these interviews and trying to make a change as well.
um, Mr. Davis opined, so how would you supply safety and transportation for the youth to get there and get back home? Well, yeah, that's another issue. We have a transportation issue right now because the buses don't run the way they're supposed to in the city of Palm Bay. So that's
Yeah,
another issue that we have to encounter.
yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
I've experienced it. When I was a kid playing football, especially at the high school level, um, if you needed to ride home, you need to go home, and you get there, a coach will help you out, right? It'll get you there or whatnot. But with the ever changing rules of high school sports and sports in general, right there, it's really frowned upon, obviously, for safety concerns and stuff like that, and recruiting and so on and so forth. But I've seen many of schools have programs, whether it's with the city or with the at the school board level to provide transportation after practice, whether it's later busing or some sort of, obviously, you don't have to necessarily use the big buses, some sort of some of the more hybrid smaller vehicles that push around, and also it's just overall pushing, expanding the transportation services within the area, right? Obviously there's families that are challenged with transportation as themselves with cars and whatnot, so providing services like that, whether it's a mobile service that around here that the city sponsors or the city attracts to bring in, right? It's stuff like that, right? And obviously we have the Space Coast Area Transit currently, but more options outside of that, right? You don't want to just put a
Yeah.
little football player on a bus like that, right? So it's sponsoring things like that, right? It's an interesting question, but certainly can be something solved, whether it's at the school board or school level.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that we'd have to tackle when we get to it if we get that far. But okay. Let's see. I think we kind of went through all the questions except for one on your concern, the compound.
Sure.
I think the compound is a major issue. Um, and the compound has been associated, as you know, with crime, and there's a potential for development back there, and there's
Mhm.
many things that we can possibly do with that land, and there's been discussions held at the city hall level. Community meetings have been held to ask for community input as to what we can do with the
Yeah.
compound. What are your thought process on the compound? What do you think you would like to see out there?
Yeah. I mean, like I mentioned, I lived in Bayside Lakes, right across the street from Bayside High School for most of my life, and obviously the compound is just right down the road. And very knowledgeable about the issues out there. And obviously, I'd experienced it when I was a youth and when I was out there during my younger days, and it's a big issue. And I think it's something that's kind of been passed from council to council to council, right? It's been out there for quite some time, right? And um, some of my ideas is that obviously Palm Bay owns things out there. Palm Bay owns a fair amount of land out there. There's some other owners out there that I know they're just still working with or trying to work something out with. But on what we do own out there needs to be some sort of development. There needs to be some sort of action out there that you build and you develop and you put some sort of event or some sort of thing that people can enjoy. It deters those people that go out there for bad things, right? Obviously, there's people that out there that use it recreationally, whether it's I've seen people fly drones out there. I've seen people four wheel in the back road trails and stuff like that. But whether it's a recreational area or whether it's some sort of safe space for people to be able to use, like I said, allude to, like whether it's the drone stuff or obviously I know there are people are floating around the BMX track, something that just effectively takes up space, and so that there's no opportunity, there's no just there's no random weaving roads back there that people can just kind of just escape in and do stupid things back there. So there needs to be a focus on what we do have currently to push out there. Obviously, long term, I think it's pretty fair to have a manufacturing park out there, kind of like what we had spoke about earlier, and ultimately connecting the St. John's Parkway and streamlining that process. But if we do have the ability now, or when I say now, within the coming years, to start putting something out there that maybe doesn't require mega facilities or require power and light. I think that they already have the hookup or the ability to do power out there anyways, if I remember my conversations correctly. But you need to have some skin in the game, right? And otherwise, it's just going to continue to be open area that people are just going to flock to, because there's unfortunately, like we had mentioned, with the how stretched thin our police department is, can't necessarily monitor out there all the time, right? So it's doing our part as a city to take up space effectively.
Yeah, the compound is an issue, and it's probably going to be years before we can actually solve that issue.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure having here tonight. Hopefully, we answered all the questions. I mean, see, Liz Stone asked, not sure if it was covered, but what do you have in mind for the infrastructure in Palm Bay? Um, I think you already answered that, but if you want to recap the answer for her,
Yeah.
would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously answered it broad, but there's more specifics that we can allude to. I think the biggest thing is when people think of infrastructure, and the first and foremost thing, obviously there's different facets of it, but I think first and foremost is the roads. And obviously we talk about the road bond, but the road bond, it just overall prepares the roads, whether it's just the top or total reconstruction and so on and so forth. So, widening efforts, or, making sure the traffic lights need to be where they need to be, right? Over obviously down the St. John Parkway, there's some inadequacies out there off of where it connects with Malabar, and that would be the overall infrastructure, right? Obviously, a lot of it's pushed with developers, a lot of it's pushed with the increased development within the city and people coming here, and thousands of housings popping up and whatnot. So it goes back with addressing impact fees. And another thing is holding the developers to the fire to say, hey, you know what? One of the stipulations, one of the things that we want to bring you, you want to come here for, but we need you to commit to improving the infrastructure around the area, whether it's a street light next to your community, or whether it's improving the infrastructure, the roads in front of your area to make it wide so that people can go through, right? When I was younger and I was interning for a company called DR Horton in Jacksonville. And I remember when I took a stint in their building department, and kind of they're working with the local cities to effectively get a development approved, is one of the stipulations other counties had is that, we're not going to approve and let you come here if you don't have a plan to address the increased traffic from what your community is going to have. And unfortunately, I don't think we have that, right? I think we understand as a city level what it's going to impact, but we don't do anything to ensure that it's before the community comes, right? It needs to come. The community can't come and then the infrastructure come. The infrastructure needs to be there, and then the community can come, right? Because at the end of the day, once that infrastructure is up, what's binding that developer to hold up their end of the bargain, obviously, because I don't think that we're allowed to contractually hold them to the fire in that way, but we can certainly put stipulations in that for them to come to build here.
And to opine, you talk about street lights, and I just remembered prior to me coming on air this evening, the city has begun the discussions of taking over the street lighting for the city of Palm Bay from FPNL. So that discussion is starting to happen.
I know. In that aspect too, I mean, it's speaking to city officials, right? There's obviously, like you had mentioned, but there's a big push on temporary street lights, temporary things that are generator produced, and to kind of put a street light in an area, in an at-risk area now until the permanent structures are built or it's allocated, right? That's another push that they're doing, and at the end of the day, it's whatever we need to do as city officials. We got to find a way to make our residents' lives safer, happier, and overall improve their quality of life, because that should be at the heart of all decisions made, and if it's not, then it shouldn't be something that's ever discussed.
True. Okay, great. Audience, it's been fun, these last couple weeks interviewing these candidates. It's been a pleasure bringing these candidates to you. You now have a wide spectrum of the candidates for all those different seats for the city council. Individuals who didn't choose to appear on the program, well, that's on them. I did my best to bring them on here, but they didn't accept the invitation. Um, and so, but hopefully, you can now go forward and make an informed decision as to who you will vote for when you go to the booth. And if you're doing the mail in ballot, you can make that informed decision as well. I'll be posting the links to the interviews on the platform on Facebook.com/Palm Bay Live so you can go back and do your own individual research. I cannot tell you who to vote for. My questions that I pose to my candidates are not pre-screened by them. They never see it. They don't know what's coming. Right, Mr. McNally? You never
Yeah.
knew what I was going to ask you.
Mm.
And that's how I operate, and that's how I've been operating this platform for the last 4 years. So you now can make that informed decision. I implore you to vote. I can't tell you who to vote for. I'm going to keep stressing that, but vote. Okay. All right. And ensure that you continue to support me. Please hit the like button on this live. I see a lot of folks watching, but not a lot of likes. So hit the like button for me, please, if you like what I'm doing. And if you're on YouTube, or go over to my YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button there as well. So let me see that count go up. Tell me, show me some love. Send me some love. Let me know that you like what I'm doing. And takes a lot of hours to research these questions, research these candidates, and to come up with these questions. So to ask them, to ensure that you can make an informed choice. So, Mr. Manili, it is your turn to close out this interview by telling the audience why they should vote for you. So I'm going to remove myself from the screen, and you will have 5 minutes to do that, sir.
Yeah, I think, I pretty much think it said it all. I'm a very passionate guy, very energetic person, and I think local government and local leadership has kind of lost that, right? It's been more about sitting in the seat. It's been more about the notoriety and the what you gain from having that title of city council, or whatever position it may or may not be. And I am here to support the city, here to support the residents, here to bring different perspectives, here to bring a perspective that says, you know what, I'm not stuck in my ways. It's not my way or the highway. I'm not going to be some arrogant, prideful person. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to speak to different residents. I'm willing to give everybody a voice, right? I don't have preconceived notions. I have my understandings, I have my ideas, and I have my experience in Palm Bay. But you know what? I don't have any sort of alliances. I don't have any sort of, I do this, you do this for me, I'll do that for you, and yada, 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 right? I mean, I am fully intending to take this position to support the residents, to, give everyone a voice, and to be able to overall just support the city, right? I think for too long, people say it a lot, is that we just don't have a vision. We don't have a plan. We don't have some sort of thing that says, you know what, here's the guiding factor for us to have, right? Just like in faith, my guiding factor is God. My guiding thing is, to glorify him, to do whatever I can to be good in his image. So, you know what, just like in that same sentiment, Palm Bay needs a vision for themselves. Palm Bay needs to have some sort of sentiment to say, hey, you know what, this is what's guiding my tenure. This is what guiding us to go down. You know what, why we need to prioritize infrastructure, prioritize emergency services, be more fiscally responsible. And obviously, when we have, and also multitask to support entertainment and to keep people happy and ready to go, right? We are no longer this slow, quiet, stalked away city. We are a vibrant and energetic and good town, right? And I think I can represent a lot more people for the city than once was, right? And I'm ready to get to work. I'm ready to put my experience and knowledge and business and just overall life to work and just support people, right? So I would say, if you have any other questions or comments, concerns, my contact information is out there. I'm on Facebook, and feel free to email me, call me, and do whatever you need to do. But it's a big focus of mine to give the power to the people. And if I am picked as your person, I'm going to continue to push for and serve you every single day. But you know what? If it's not my time, then I'm still going to continue to serve and push for people and be a part of the community, whether it's through sports or in the city or whatever it can be, right? To overall to support people's lives. Everyone I think everyone has a mission on this earth. Everyone has a why, and everyone has some sort of purpose that's going to prolong our city and push us forward and continuously make us this great place. So I'm happy to be a part of it. Happy to have your consideration. And if you need anything from me, I'm only one call away. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, audience, for watching the interview tonight again. And candidates, remember these interviews are going to be up. The audience, some of them work at different odd hours. They come back, they watch the videos, and they're posting questions in the comment section. Ensure that you go back and review those discussion questions and look for questions that the community is posting to you, and interact with them and let them know your answers, etc. So that's one word of advice that I would give to you, because I do see a lot of questions being displayed in the comments in the past interviews that I've done so far. So ensure that you go back, candidates, and answer the questions of the community, because they want to interact with you. They want to know your thought process on the different issues that's affecting us, whether in Palm Bay or beyond, because I've also interviewed some individuals that are running for House, uh, and etc. Anyways, it was a pleasure having here tonight. Thank you again. Thanks
Yeah,
everyone
thank you.
for watching. And Mr. Patrick, remember that my only thing is I live right here in Bayside. The high school is looking right there at me, and I want to win in season, sir.
Yep.
So
Friday night, 7 o'clock, it kicks off, man. We'll get it done for you.
all right, great. So let's see, let's get it done. All right. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great night.